Revelation 3473. From the 29th of April 1945. Truth and error. Consequences spiritual and earthly. The reason why people have distanced themselves so far from God is that they flee the truth and allow error access. Truth inevitably leads to God, whereas error keeps people away from true knowledge and thus also from God, who must be known in order to be loved and aspired to. Anyone who loves God has also recognized Him beforehand, and in order to do so he must be informed of the truth. If, on the other hand, error is offered to the human being, then a false image of the eternal deity will also be created for him, or God will be completely denied, and then a recognition of the eternal deity will be impossible, and consequently the feeling of love in the human being will also remain undeveloped, and this means a distance from God. But the fact that error finds access to people is due to the will of the human being himself, who is completely free and can both desire and ignore the truth. But the truth is only offered to the human being if he seriously strives for it. For although it is also brought to man through appointed servants who are well instructed in the truth, it will only appear acceptable to man if he seeks it. But seeking the truth means seeking God, for God is the truth. Seeking God and striving towards Him in turn means acknowledging himself as the highest, most perfect being and desiring to unite with this being. And since the most perfect being is supremely good, the human being must first strive to be good and thus bring love to its fullest development. And through love the human being attains truth, yet without love a realization of the eternal deity is not possible. God, truth and love are inseparable, and anyone who strives for one of them inevitably also desires the other. But where error is widespread, love cannot develop properly either. Where there is error, the image of God will appear distorted to people and the distance from Him will become ever greater. The consequence of this is a spiritual decline which also becomes noticeable on earth. The consequence of this is hardship and misery among people, because the distance from God cannot be remedied in any other way than through love and truth, and people should and can develop love in suffering and also start to think and strive for truth. But as long as no action is taken against error, there will be no spiritual ascent and thus no earthly improvement either. For the human being's goal is unification with God, which can only take place in truth, whereas error hinders this unification and therefore has to be fought if people are to reach their goal on earth. Truth will assert itself, and if the human being does not find it on earth he will have to acquire it in the kingdom of the beyond, because without truth no being can become blissfully happy. But if the human being's will on earth has already been too weak to seriously strive for it, then he will be even more difficult to be persuaded to accept the truth in the spiritual kingdom, and he will have to suffer bitter struggles and hardship of soul until he has become accessible to the pure truth, and this often requires an infinitely long time in the spiritual kingdom what can be achieved on earth in a short time. And therefore God constantly endeavors to guide people into truth, and He Himself instructs His servants who shall fulfill this task on earth, who are bearers of the pure truth and shall pass it on to all who are willing to accept it, who desire God and thus also the truth, and who want to achieve unity with God through love. For truth is unavoidably necessary if people want to become blessed. Amen.